Hi everyone, hope all of you are doing super well, and in this video I wanted to share with you some information on assessing enterprise limitations, and this information is taken again from the BABOK guide. So without any delay, let's get into it. So why would we want to assess the enterprise limitations? Okay, so when we implement a solution, we want to determine and see how factors, especially the external factors to the solution, are restricting the solution from realizing its actual potential value. Okay, so let's say you implemented a solution but it's just not proving its value. So apart from internal factors, there could be external factors, and that's what we identify by assessing enterprise limitations. So as you can see in this diagram over here, there are internal factors and there are external factors. So among the external factors, you can see culture, operations, technical components, then you have the stakeholders interests and reporting structures. Though you may not see these factors impacting the solution's value, but to an extent, or maybe without your knowledge, it might be affecting the solution. So that's what we're going to see in this video. So assessing the enterprise limitations, as I said, it helps you to identify the root causes and helps you to describe how the enterprise factors are limiting the value realization. And this assessment can be performed at any point in time during the life cycle. So the solution, it doesn't mean that the solution, when you implement the solution, just implement it, it needs to be performed, or after some time it needs to be performed. No, you can perform this enterprise limitation assessment any point in time in order to identify the external factors. And the inputs to this particular assessment are, of course, you need the current state, which describes the internal and the external factors that's influencing the solution. You also need the solution performance analysis. So if you haven't got to see the video that I taken previously about how do you measure solution performance, how do you analyze the solution performance, then I'll add the links in the description box. You can take a look at it. So all the results from that particular activity you also need to consider as an input for this activity. And the last one is the implemented solution. Of course, you need to have the implemented solution in order to make an analysis and in order to do an assessment. So that's about the inputs for this particular activity. So now going on to the different factors. So the very first one is the enterprise culture assessment. So what is culture? Culture is a set of beliefs, norms, and values of the employees. So business analysts, they perform this culture assessment in order to identify whether or not stakeholders, whether they understand the reason why a solution is in the first place. And you also want to ascertain whether or not the stakeholders, they view a solution as something really beneficial for them and it's very supportive for them and it supports the change. Also, you want to determine and see what cultural changes itself are required in order to better realize the value of a solution. So sometimes when stakeholders, they do not even realize the value of a solution, then it's very hard for them, for us as for the team, to get them on board and for them to realize the value. So first you even want to understand, do they see this solution, do they see this change as beneficial for them, as a supportive one for them? So you want to analyze all this. So once you have assessed this, you also want to evaluate. When we say evaluate, we want to like quantify certain things, which means that we want to evaluate and see the internal and external stakeholders as to how do they see the solution. So to an extent, we want to gauge and understand the acceptance of the solution. To what level are stakeholders accepting the solution? The next one is assess the perception of value and benefit from the solution. So to what level and extent do people see the solution as beneficial or supportive to them? And at the end, you want to determine and see, based upon these values, what exactly are the different communication activities that are needed in order to ensure awareness and understanding of the solution. So sometimes people may not be adopting to the solution because they don't even realize its value and why is that solution in the first place. So in those cases, you want to communicate, you want to inform stakeholders as to what the solution is, what is it about, what is it solving for stakeholders, When they get that information, then they can start adapting and utilizing the solution. So that's the main aim of this. The next one is stakeholder impact analysis. So as part of stakeholder impact analysis, we need to consider the functions of the stakeholders. For what particular functions do stakeholders use the solution? What are the type of inputs that they provide? How are they processing and achieving their goal? What are the different outputs that they are generating from that particular solution? So you need to understand all this in order to get a better impact analysis of the stakeholders, and how does a solution impact the stakeholders, or how stakeholders create an impact to the solution. The next one is you want to understand the locations, okay, of the stakeholders. Reason why is, let's say that you implemented a solution which has a live map tracking system for maybe end-to-end delivery drivers. But if they are in locations, these drivers are in locations where there is no proper internet or signal, then the usage is going to be definitely drastically, it's going to be impacted. So when you do this impact analysis, you also need to consider locations as well, something that we might forget or we may not even consider. But of course it does have certain impacts and potential impacts in certain use cases and solutions. And the last one is concerns. You want to analyze, check with people and the stakeholders as to what are their concerns of using the solution. Do they see any risks involved, or do they have any issues in using the system? So all this you want to understand as part of the stakeholder analysis. The next one is organizational structure change. So as an organization, probably there are different structures per organization. So maybe the organization is a flat organization, or it could be an organization with multiple hierarchical levels. So usually there is a well defined structure for organizations, and you would have implemented a solution, a particular process that you would have defined in order to achieve a particular goal. But there sometimes there could be that the organization hierarchy itself may not support that particular change. In cases, for example, where there are very informal relationships, so it could be either an alliance, it could be a general friendship, or it could be certain norms of the organization. But generally, when there are some informal relationships in the organization, it could generally impact the solution, because you would have developed a solution with keeping in mind all the formal relationships. So whenever these structures keep changing, it could potentially create an impact on the solution. And the last one is operational assessment. So, as part of doing this operational assessment, you want to determine and see if the enterprise is capable and able to use the solution, to adapt to the solution, and effectively use the solution as well. So, when conducting this operational assessment, the business analysts need to consider things like policies and procedures. Are there any policies and procedures in place when people use the solution, or how are they supposed to use the solution? The next one is you want to understand and see if there are any capabilities and processes that enable other capabilities. You also want to check on if there are going to be any skills and trainings that is required in order to utilize the solution. So usually, let's say it's a totally new solution and there are certain skills and training that need to be conducted in order for people to adapt to that solution, then yes, you should be considering that. Then human resource practices, risk tolerance management approaches for that solution, tools and technology that support a solution. Some solutions need to be maintained, some solutions need certain technologies, certain tools, infrastructure, softwares in order to enable to operate effectively. So you need to even consider all these aspects when you're kind of analyzing why a solution doesn't realize its expected value. So of course these are certain examples and certain aspects of external factors impacting your solution. Maybe not all external factors might impact the solution, because it depends from organization to organization. But next time, keep in mind, it's not always about your solution and your solution is not providing value. Sometimes there could be external factors that might be involved in it. So I hope you got some understanding on this, and if you found this video helpful, please do give this a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to this channel, and also do share your feedbacks. Thank you.